What isn't? It's not on record.
Yeah.
Alright, cool. Alright, well, Bob, let me start saying two bits, man. This is the Badman Book Club. Badman Warrior Book Club. So, have you heard the new Dre album?
No, somebody on the bus was on the train was talking to me about it.
Mm-hmm. Just Juice. Shelley. Right now, we're on Lee Child. Jack Reacher, well known. Obviously, he's got a movie in that. But as we know, he made this guy called Jack Reacher. He's basically like 6'5", blonde. Exactly how you'd expect a big American to look. He punches people up, not just shoots people, he takes people out. He's like an American James Bond. He is intelligent. No, that's wrong. He is intelligent. He can do good maths. And this book here is called The Persuader. Dominic Cole, a woman who he allowed to die in some situation that he always felt guilty about, but you never knew what the situation was. So this book basically is about him catching up with one of his old enemies called Quinn, which obviously he manages to do because he always succeeds. But if you read these books again, there's always a guy who's about as big as him who he's got to end up fighting. This one was called Paulie, who's like some Olympic javelin thrower, shot put thrower. He infiltrates an organization that are dealing the Beck family. He gets put onto that case and he realizes from there that the guy he's chasing, Richard Beck, is not the top man. The top man is actually this Quinn guy. Like all Jack Reacher books, there is a love interest, a local police officer, and he realizes that this Paulie is like violating the boss's wife sexually. He takes steroids, he's gigantic. He actually can't get a boner. So he investigates and finds out Paulie's actually doesn't work for Beck, he works for the guy above Beck. Gets to go at his old enemy. And he's going on so terrible, if he never done that rape maneuver, then he could have been in the Warriors Book Club himself. But he got mashed up and thrown in the sea. That is why he is in and is the first described in the Badman Book Club. This is another Dapper Warrior. It's a Bernard Cornwell, the same man who wrote Sharp. Haven't read that series, I'm not really into them army kind of things too much. The leader of the Vikings that came over, and Uhtred got left there in a trade-off with the English for some land, and he got left there. Both gave each other one of their children to raise so that nobody would do anything messed up or they killed their children. And he's in the Badman Book Club. He's in the top 3. Then we're also going to be looking at, oh my God, there's too much. Julius Caesar, not Caesar though, Brutus, Marcus Brutus is in the Badman Warrior Club because he's just killing everyone in the whole world. Top of the list, Ultimate G Warrior Hero, Super Dan of the World, Genghis Khan, the Genghis series, man making noise and flashing light up because it's a serious thing. 5-book series, as you can see, I've only got the last 2 here because I've borrowed them out. Man just don't want to let them go, they love it. Wolf of the Plains, if you haven't read that book, read that book.
Tell them about the 10 flag system.
All right. And this is the truth. You can check it out in history, YouTube, Google, whatever you want. He had a free tent system, yeah? So this is what it is. Man will come to your town, and this is the days when you've got a wall outside your town and everyone's inside. He'll come to your town, basically with his army, and put outside a white tent. A white tent outside your town. That means, if you surrender your town now, I'm going to send in some of my dons. They're going to take like Prime Minister role in your town, Chief of Police or whatever, big roles in town, and we're going to run your town, but we'll let everybody live. Oh, you don't want to come outside? Man's putting out the red tent, yeah? That means we're still coming inside your town and taking your best roles, but now every man in town who's old enough to carry a sword is dead. Dead. If you still don't come outside, black tent, that means we're coming inside your town and we're killing everything. Your fucking pet, your goat, your mum, your chicken, your brother, everyone. You, your sister, even people in hospital who are already dying. That's not nothing what somebody's wrote and you thought, wow, what an excellent thing to write. No, that's true. There's something called the Night of the Fairies. You're going to have to check out the name. Someone messaged me on the comments and say, he comes up to the town, they put out the black tent, XYZ, man inside the town, no wagwan. That night is called the Night of the Fairies. 40,000 women of all ages jumped off the top, caused a mass suicide. The biggest suicide ever. Because Genghis Khan is outside your house. Why he's top of the club? That's why he's the shadow boss. Con Ingledon, top man writer. I'm just gonna put this book right on top. That's where it belongs. Until if you know someone who could write better about action warriors, no matter what you're interested in, there's a book for you. But until then, that's where he has to sit.
But obviously, there's a lot of people who don't really they don't really read that much at the moment. Yeah, like what are the most common reasons you hear from friends for saying why they're not really into books, and what's your response?
When I first started reading after school, it was just pure criminals.
Catch Me If You Can.
Catch Me If You Can. Abagnale, yeah, Frank Abagnale, Leonardo DiCaprio. When I'm telling you the man is a supreme warlord dapper. I'll put it this way, by the time the bro was 19 years old, he'd flown a plane, he'd operated on someone, he'd teached in a classroom, in a university classroom, yeah, and he'd represented someone in a court of law. All 4 jobs what your mum wants you to go uni and train for was none of those things. He was a fraudster. Catch Me If You Can. Buy that book. You can get it on Amazon for like £3, but it's not expensive at all. Badman book. There's nothing to hold you back in a reading game.
What's one benefit of reading for somebody who wasn't before reading?
Yeah, pleasure. That's one benefit. I'm not going to say, oh, if you read, you're going to get smart, because you might be like me. I don't really read enough books that are about like ancient history of the pyramids or... That's a lie. I read a Badman slave book called The Washing of the Spears. It wasn't written by Africans, so I was dubious about the authenticity of the message and the truth of it. So, but it was a good book and it was enlightening. All of them kind of people there. Richard the Duke of York. He done a lot of stuff. He really did have 10,000 men and they were warring hard. Loads of books. Like it, subscribe it. See, we've got people talking. We're here watching balls the first day of the Premier League. We're not geeks. We just like reading. What you got there?
What?
All of that kind of stuff, what you hear other people say, do that for me as well. Respect. And respect to you. Shimmy, 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 shimmy. But you see it in your head, so I'll call it a scene.